One of the many facets that makes anime so engaging to watch is the ability to feel an emotional catharsis about the events happening on screen. Now, these release of emotions don't necessarily have to be good, but whether or not you're connecting to a character by how much you relate to them, or just reacting to the shocking events in a story, these moments fuel our curiosity to keep watching. As you may have heard, Domestic Girlfriend has been one of the hottest topics in contention for the winter 2019 anime, and for obvious reasons. I'm gonna assume that everyone knows of its premise, so it saves me time from having to explain it. Now, you can find plenty of other videos on Domestic Girlfriend detailing how bad, shocking, or overdramatic its narrative is. However, I think there's actually some nuance the series does right that people just completely miss or fail to understand. While it's easy to meme and call the show a very trashy romance, or spicy as the cool kids would call it, I feel that this is a very surface level enjoyment and understanding of what Domestic Girlfriend is actually about. It's almost as if people have excused themselves from having to explain why they like watching a morally challenging series by resorting to the argument that it's just a trashy show. Now, just to be clear, I don't think Domestic Girlfriend is some kind of hidden masterpiece that people fail to see, or even if it's that great. There are plenty of problems I have with the show, from its lackluster direction, plot contrivances, and tonal inconsistency. However, despite this fact, I've thoroughly enjoyed it even with all the faults it has. With that being said, in this video I'll be focusing on the misconceptions that people have on what makes the show engaging, but also how our experience with its narrative can help shape our understanding of better stories. One of the biggest arguments against this series is that people find characters making too many dumb or stupid decisions for the sake of melodrama. While it's understandable why some could find the characters' decisions to be frustrating, overall I think this mindset is a misinterpretation of what Domestic Girlfriend is trying to convey. The series puts characters in very fucked up situations, and all of them are just trying to make the best they can with it. It's not anyone's fault that they ended up this way, but emotions are a powerful thing that can get the better of you, and I feel that it's no better represented than through Hina's character. From the beginning of the series, Hina was always presented as the gentle, ditzy, hardworking older sister. She was always doing her best to make everyone around her happy. Yet, when Natsuo finds out that Hina's been having an affair, our perception of her being this model and perfect person completely shatters. How could someone who seemed so kind and honest be in this kind of a relationship? Even she didn't know.
父さんも含め、浮気や不倫する人なんてバカだって、最低だって思ってたの。そう思ってたのよ。
Hina going against her own morals says a lot about what Domestic Girlfriend is trying to achieve. That no matter how good of a person you think you are, situations can always get complicated when strong feelings are involved. It never crossed her mind that she'd be the type of person to have an affair, but here she is. It's only when her relationship starts affecting the family around her does she finally end it. However, as we soon find out, things get much more complicated as the series continues. After Hina rejects Natsuo's confession at the beach, all she wanted is for her family to live a happy and normal life together. Though, due to Rui's advances and ever-growing feelings for her brother, Hina decides to move out at the expense of everyone's guilt, and it's during the festival where it's finally revealed what Hina's true feelings were, and that she always acted in a way that was best for her family without considering her own emotions. Being the oldest sibling, she felt that she needed to be the adult and the voice of reason for all the screwed up things happening around her. It's because of this expectation that Hina could never truly express her feelings and always hid them to seem like the mature one. However, all of this is let out as she finally gives in to her feelings for Natsuo in order to start a secret relationship. By viewing Hina's character through a lens of emotional anxiety, it's obvious that the characters of Domestic Girlfriend don't just make decisions for the sake of creating drama. There's actual human moments behind their decisions, even if they are completely impulsive or stupid. That's the point. Which is why I disagree more and more now when people just call the series a trashy romance, because if you take the time to actually understand the motivations of its characters, it becomes ever more clear what the underlying ethos of the series is. These characters will act upon the feelings they have rather than contemplate them like most other conventional romances, and I don't think you can fault them for that. Feelings can nurture and grow over time even if you don't want them to. The series advocates for people to express their feelings than to regret it later on. It's this idea that drives Domestic Girlfriend's narrative and what makes the show entertaining, because there are genuine moments of realism that feel true to life. In most conventional romances, you almost always know how the series will play out. The two unlikely leads will meet each other through certain events and slowly grow feelings for one another over time. Although they would never act on those feelings, but instead harbor them deep inside as the series continues on with a will they won't they scenario, only to end up together at the very end. Now, there's absolutely nothing inherently wrong with this. I myself enjoy a handful of conventional romances. However, I'd be lying if I didn't say that they can get mind-numbing if you experience them over and over again. But this is exactly what makes Domestic Girlfriend so refreshing and unique. It's not just because the series does something different, but that it actually progresses the characters' relationship past the early stages and treats everyone with emotional human faults. Take for instance a character like Momo, who I initially brushed off as being superficial due to the fact that she seemed to only want to hook up with Natsuo, yet if you look beyond the surface level, you'll find that she's really one of the most tragic characters in the entire series. As individuals, we all know what our personal flaws are, but despite this, we all want someone who can accept us for who we are, flaws in everything. Momo is no different. She's trying to find a person who genuinely cares for her due to her upbringing. Her parents never got along, which led them to always working late and barely talking. She had never experienced the loving childhood a single daughter should have, and it's for this very reason why the only type of affection she knows is a physical one, because that's the only way it will get reciprocated. It's also why Momo starts crying tears of joy when Natsuo cooks her food, because for the first time in her life, she's shown what an emotional connection is. For me, Rui is the most grounded and realistic character in the entire series. Her development is slow but feels natural and progressive through the interactions she experiences. She's initially apathetic and doesn't feel like she fits with anyone around, which results in her being closed off and distant. Part of the reason why she had a one-night stand was because she couldn't understand the feelings of affection that the people around her had always talked about. It's as if everything was alien. She's the weird one, the one who didn't understand love.
よくないよ、そういうの。やめた方がいいよ。ルイは好きな人に抱きしめられたことある？ないけど。じゃあ、ルイにはわからないよ。
Love wasn't something Rui had ever felt or experienced before. It was a foreign concept. But after living and spending time with Natsuo, she began to unconsciously harbor feelings for him, even though she was unable to communicate them. Although, when she discovers that Hina and Natsuo had secretly been going out, she vows to dislike him from here on. Rui is lying to herself. Feelings towards a person don't just disappear because you want them to, and that's made abundantly clear when Natsuo is depressed about his breakup. She tries little by little to cheer him up by bringing him food and just talking. However, it's in the final moments where she can no longer hold back these deep-seated emotions. She finally knew what love was, and nothing was going to stop her. Now, while you can argue the semantics of the show being too rushed or overblown, these moments of genuine human connection exist throughout the entire series, even more so in the penultimate episode. After the school finds out about Hina's illicit relationship, she makes the hard sacrifice of leaving Natsuo so that he doesn't lose his social standing in life. Fate can be cruel, but even so, these characters never chose the person to be in love with. It just happens naturally. The time the two spent together was invaluable, and that's further enforced through Hina's letter. But unlike his first confession at the beach, she knew that Natsuo was fully prepared to throw away everything he had just to be with her. She didn't want this. Hina felt that she didn't deserve to be loved in such a manner, and so takes the burden of breaking up in a necessary but painful way.
私たちが付き合うってこういうことだよ。一緒に死ぬの。きっと隠しきれるものじゃない。もし知れたら、家族も社会的な立場も何もかも捨てることになる。それは心中するのと一緒でしょ。
For what it's worth, Domestic Girlfriend may not be a great series overall. However, if you're able to look past its unconventional romance and understand the motivations for its characters, it can be surprisingly poignant and cathartic in ways not many other romances can do, showcasing the emotional anxiety of characters through instinctual and impulsive desires, while still managing to feel real. Thanks for watching, and Rui is best girl.